Beth McKinley was one of the first people that I met at my first ALDE conference 5 years ago in Albuquerque. And she has always exemplified for me what it means to be a young adult professional in our chosen vocation. And when on the resource team we were wrestling with this theme of building bridges, the first person that came to my mind was Beth, because she also exemplifies in my mind what it means to be a bridge. She has now not only been someone who has been mentored and brought along in her career by others, but she now serves as a mentor to others around her, including myself. And so I called Beth about 2 months ago and said, would you talk about some of those key relationships, some of those people who have been touch points for you and who, if not for ALDE, you would not be where you are. And so Beth is going to share that with us.
Yeah, that's the part he told me I could talk about. When Mike called me and asked me that question, there were lots of faces and names that ran through my mind. But in particular, there were 3 that stood out, and I'd like to introduce you to them today. The first person that came to mind, thinking way back to the very beginning of my career in fundraising and development, was Dave Coker. I see some nodding heads. And what Dave really showed me and taught me at my very first ALDE conference is that the foundation of my work was really had to be with stewardship and relationship building. And it is on that principle, on that concept, by which I have continued to focus my attention whenever I'm making career decisions, whenever I am talking with donors, and quite frankly, when I'm talking to my friends and my family. So Dave, do you want to stand up and so people know who you are in case they didn't?
Should I talk now, Beth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Well, I just happen to have a passion for young people. I happen to work at Nebraska Lutheran Outdoor Ministries, where we have college kids and young campers, and I just love their energy and enthusiasm and their interest. And that's what I found in Beth when she first came to her conference. I think we were at a newcomers meeting, and she was asking all kinds of questions. And I was just trying to drive home the point that it's really important to do the basics and do them well. If you're not doing a good job in development, it's simply because you're not doing the basics. And the only reason I've ever had any success in this field is because people have mentored me, people like Lloyd Probasco over here, and they've taught me and got me to accept the fact that it's all about doing the basics. It's about the relationships, it's about people, and it's about stewardship. So it's kind of cool that now Beth is teaching that to others. She had an influence on Mike, and Mike's, I know, is having an influence on a lot of other people too. So it's a great passion, and it's a great organization.
So the second person who came to mind is Jane Lottis. And many of you know Jane. One of the things that she really instilled in me was a focus on connecting with as many people as possible, but also stretching myself to always look to talk to somebody new and somebody different. Whether that was in the organizations I was working with at the time, the Lutheran Camping Corporation and Lutheran Volunteer Corps, which were very faith-focused, but also as I transitioned into higher ed with a state school in Pennsylvania, Jane was my go-to person, and she always encouraged me to, even though I'm tired and even though I might not want to, it's really important to connect with people, even people who you don't yet know. So I'd like to introduce you to Jane.
Hello, everybody. I met Beth at her very first ALDE when she was really young. She's still young. And I do remember telling her that it's really important to stretch and grow. And while you're here and And this doesn't mean as much to some of you because you see each other all the time, but I'm from the East Coast, and it is rare for me to get to see any of you during the year. And so I said, you really need to use the time while you're here to network with people, to grow, to learn from peers and from friends. And I've seen her go from a first-time attendee to helping with a conference, to being a board member, to speaking at a conference. We met boyfriends along the way. We critiqued them. We were very caring about it. We don't know if he's the right one for her. I remember the conversations. And so this is all part of being, we did. Do you remember, Beth?
Oh, God.
We did. Do you remember?
Is
We
this
didn't
a
like that
roast?
one guy. Yeah. And that's all part of being the ALDE family. And to me, very special to be here each year and to get to connect with Beth and other people I've met over the years. And that those relationships can help you grow and learn so much as well.
So then the third person I want to introduce you to, you know, one of the things that's great is that you learn a lot in the sessions, but it's so critical that when you find that connection with somebody and you're having a really meaningful dialogue, to maintain and keep that going. And that may last throughout the year. It may last from year to year when you come back from other conferences. But the third person that came to mind for me was Dave First. And so it was from that first conference to even last year when I didn't get to come to ALDE because I had a baby. Sorry, got to throw my daughter in there. He always encouraged me, both professionally, but more so as much as personally, to grow in my faith and my vocation and in my call to ministry wherever it was that I found myself. So if that was working with an organization, a faith-led organization, or a or more secular organization, it was critical that I be true to who God has called me to be wherever I am. So I'd like to introduce you to Dave First. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Hi.
I'm right here. Hello.
It's bright lights up here. I can't.
I remember being very impressed by Beth the first time I met her. And I recognized her as somebody that I knew was going to do something really, really great in her career. We never filled out an official mentoring form. We never, reported back what we did. But Beth was one of those people that I wanted to make sure I connected with every year. And so it was more like two friends having a conversation. And I gained just as much from those conversations as Beth did, if not more. And so we talked about everything under the sun, including faith, vocation, and hairdos every once in a while. And split ends. I've learned a lot.
The horror.
Yeah. So, and now Beth works right where she should work, at Lutheran World Relief. So.
Nice plug. Well, many of you know that I really, really love ALDE, and that's because of Coker and Jane and Dave and so many more of you, and I'm not going to name more names because there's just too many to name. But I think what's really important is that you know if you're the first time here, that when you go home, you're not alone. And so wherever it is that you're serving in your ministry, know that you've got a tremendous amount of support and encouragement behind you, and that the people here genuinely care about you as a professional and as a person, helping you to grow in your career and to succeed wherever you are in life. So that's why when I was blessed to work, to join the team at Lutheran World Relief, which makes a really strong investment in its staff for professional development, that my husband and I decided to take the funds that we had been using to send me to this conference when it wasn't paid for by my employer, that we take those funds that we had, quote unquote, saved and direct them to the annual fund. It's really, I think, meaningful when you realize that you have been blessed by the peers and the education and the networking and the spiritual formation, and if you're getting that from your employer, they're paying for you to be here, that perhaps you can step out in faith and help the person who's coming behind you, the way that Coker and Jane and Dave and so many others have. So I'm going to step out on a limb, Mike, and I'm going to say that we're going to meet our goal today. We're going to make that $25,000 challenge today, so that tomorrow we can come back and celebrate the accomplishment and all the vision and wonderful things that our leadership and our teams and our staff are doing to go even further. Will you join me in that? Amen.